Studio A in Texas, USA. This is the award-winning Car Talk Show in real time. Coming up, we'll review our featured vehicle of the week, the Chevy Tahoe. We got your weekly cruise-in calendar. Conrad has This Week in Auto History, and I'll have the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Just ahead on today's In Real Time Car Show. Howdy. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey, we need more Jeff Zekin.
We do.
Jeff Buttons.
If you didn't get enough, that's if you didn't get enough last week, we'll get more.
Buttons.
Buttons.
Like
Jeffrey
red buttons. Yeah. Buttons.
There you go.
Buttons
Jeff
Zekin.
Buttons.
I like it. Glad you could join us. Beautiful day here in Houston, Texas, and hope you get out and enjoy that. Again, it's the In Real Time Car Show, and we have special guest right now joining us. His name is Richard Truesdell. And Richard, it's great to have you with us today. Thanks so much for joining us. Oh, press that button, Don.
Yeah. Jeff, show him how to push the button.
Jeff needs to come over here and show me how to push the button.
Thanks for joining us, Richard. We had you muted there for a second.
We're good now.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
So, Richard is the author of several books. Well, one of them is Hearst Equipped. And let's just start with Hearst, because I have some experience with Hearst in the fact that Jeff and I put a Hearst shifter just recently in my 2001 Corvette. Hearst goes back to the beginning of the hot rod era. And tell us about that book, if you don't mind.
Well, I started that book back in 2010, and it was the first book having done a lot of magazine work. Prior to that, the publisher came to me and said that two other writers attempted it and couldn't get the book done, and would I take it up? And I said yes. And then I realized it was 50,000 words and more than 400 photographs. So I called in a good friend of mine, Mark Fletcher, and together it took us 2 years to write that book, but it came out in 2012, and the hardcover print run sold through, and then they reprinted it in 2020 as a paperback, basically the same price as the hardcover. The book publishing business, quite frankly, I've never quite figured it out.
Well, obviously, the book struck a note with a lot of people because you sold it out. I mean, is it available now?
Yeah, the paperback copy is available through booksellers like Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Can be ordered through most local bookstores, and that's selling through pretty well. Even though the material, we added an extra chapter, but the book didn't change really dramatically, other than an update from 2015 on, when a number of Hearst branded cars were built through the Mr. Norms organization and my friend Larry Weiner.
What was one of the biggest takeaways that you got in doing all your research and writing the book?
Just how important George Hearst and his partner Bill Campbell were to the birth and then explosion of the automotive aftermarket industry in the 1960s. And they were really an integral part of it. And like an original SEMA company.
Right. And what really is the success of Hearst? I mean, a shifter is a shifter is a shifter, but they seem to up the ante in all of it and just taking it to the next level. And obviously, it resonated with the entire performance industry.
And then also had some OEM relationships, because I remember Hearst actually did a Pontiac back in '65 or '66. Is that correct?
You're pretty damn close on that.
Oh.
The first OEM, and this is something I learned when we did the research on the book, was the 64.5 Barracuda. That was the first OEM
application
install product.
Well, that kind of
shifters came after about the same time.
Well, that kind of parlays right into the Hemi under glass. I mean, that was a huge thing back in the '60s on the drag strip.
Yeah, and obviously Bob Riggle was an integral part of that. A lot of people don't know that Bill Shrewsbury was the original Hemi Underglass driver, and then Bill parted ways with George Hurst and the Hurst Company. And Bob was the mechanic on the 64, I believe, run of the car. And George asked him, Bob thought he was going to get fired, I think was something we learned in the book when we researched the Hemi Underglass book. And George asked Bob if he wanted to drive the car, and Bob naturally said yes.
Oh, yeah.
And quite frankly, the rest is history.
Yeah, and a very well-known history. So when did that book come out, your Hemi Underglass book?
That book came out in spurts because of the pandemic, because of the supply chain problems. They were the hard copies were sitting on a ship outside of Long Beach. The digital edition did get released early in the summer. And then in September, I believe about September 15th, I got the word from our publisher, at CarTech, and Bob Wilson said, "Hey, Rich, the books just landed here in the Midwest. We're going to start shipping them on Monday." So I think that was mid-September, and the sell-through has been good. I think probably my co-author and I, Mark Fletcher, are probably as responsible for the slow start because we didn't do as many shows like this
promoting
as we do with Hurst Equipped and with 1970 Maximum Muscle earlier this year.
Yeah. Was the final kind of last not big, but the huge view of the Hemi Underglass was Leno's problem with it on his show. Was that in your book, kind of towards the end of your book?
There's a funny story about that. Everything that Jay does is still, and we found this out back in 2012 with Hurst Equipped, everything goes through NBC Universal. So we have a chapter, that's one of the last chapters of the book, talks a lot about that. What a lot of people don't realize is that Bob had given Jay a run in the Hemi Underglass, almost a decade earlier. But yes, the infamous rollover is an important part of the book, but we had trouble getting clearance
from NBC
pictures to go in the book. So my photos of the car that I had taken in a studio years earlier in that chapter, and the story is there. I mean,
and it was kind of reintroducing Hemi Underglass to everybody. There's a group of people who watched Hemi Underglass through the years as an exhibition car, and then when it happened on Jay Leno, not that it had been forgotten, but it really hadn't been front of mind. And then when the Jay Leno incident happened, it kind of brought it front of mind, which was great timing for you on the book release.
Well, let me just also add to for those people that don't know, the Hemi Underglass was as you said, an exhibition drag car where they had taken the engine and moved it from in front of the driver to behind the driver to get it to do wheelies, and that was the whole thrust behind
in the glass fastback of the Barracuda of the day.
So you could see the motor back there. And I find it interesting that you found enough about the Hemi Underglass to write an entire book on it. I had no clue. I mean, that's back in my era.
Well, the thing is that Bob had, over the years, built an unbelievable archive of his photos. And it was hard. I won't, diminish that. And Bob had a terrible motor vehicle accident and almost took him from us. And so that happened about 1/3 of the way through the writing of the book. So we had to put the book on hold for the better part of a year while Bob recuperated. And that set us back a bit. But, thank God Bob's doing well. That book is part of a series of a number of other race car drag racing drivers of that era, the 60s and into the early 70s. And he was an integral part of that. So this is a matter of, after a 50-year career that took him all over the world, that Bob finally got the due that
He
that he
deserved.
should have got.
Right.
Did
Yeah,
Bob
that
did
he
Bob
deserved.
have any inclination that car would have been as popular as it was? I mean, I just can't imagine at the time, back in the 60s when the car was originally built, that there were a lot of specialty cars that they built for the drag strip, this being one of them.
Little Red Wagon. You know,
Sure.
And
there
they're
was-
all, and funny that you mentioned that. They're all mentioned in the book. There's a chapter in the book on the other wheel standards. Some of them were national, like Bill Shrewsbury. Others were regional. They're covered in the book, and I think that's something that adds to the book. As to answering your question, how about if I pose it to Bob to see if he'll come on your show?
we would
we'd
love
it.
to
We'd
have
love it.
him on. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think that can be arranged. He will be with my writing partner, Mark Fletcher, at McCacken next weekend. I'll probably speak to Bob over the weekend. I'll certainly speak to Mark. I'll be doing a local event, a book signing here next weekend at one of the suppliers I work with. But I know Bob and maybe Mark. I mean, I think having Mark and Bob and maybe me in the background, that's something that we could arrange very easily.
Wow,
How cool. That'd be awesome.
that'd be very good. We would love to see that.
And Hearst had been involved in other exhibition cars. I'm an Oldsmobile fan, so the Hearst Harry Olds. Do you have a book planned for that one too?
We'd have to talk to Joe Schubeck about that.
Because now you're talking about an Olds engine in the front and an Oldsmobile engine in the back, and just 4 tires laying a smoky burnout for the whole quarter mile.
Yeah.
Totally different car, but still Hearst's involvement.
Well, that's in the first book, and when you're writing a book, I don't know if any of the 4 of you have ever done that. It is it's. God, I'd rather write 10 magazine articles for.
Amen, brother. I couldn't agree more. I write a magazine article here in the Houston, Texas area once a month, and it's a struggle for me just to do that with a couple of car reviews in it. I can't imagine being devoted enough to be able to sit down, do all of the research, gather up all of the information, and then put it in thousands of words into a book. I mean, that's got to be a true commitment. When did you start this?
Hemi Under Glass, I guess, probably close to 4 years ago. I had a breakfast meeting with Bob and Bill Sefton, who owned several of the cars at one time, and was that we'd just done a photo shoot of a bunch of cars. I think this was about 4 years ago, and that's where the genesis of the project started. Having done Hearst Equip, I went back to the publisher, Cartech, and said, do we want to do a book on Bob? And they had already done books on several other drag racers, like Don Garlitz, for instance.
Yeah.
So it fit in that series. We got off to a great start on it. Like I said, Bob has had a carton of archives, photos, and that involves scanning. There were some issues with the scanning, and they were mostly small snapshots. I tried to get them a little bit bigger. I learned how to use AI to do that, and the publisher, well, my editor there said, just give us the originals, and ultimately that's what I did. We scanned them at 4 by 4 inches at 300 DPI. This is all getting into the nuts and bolts of it, but it was a lot different than the middle book between the two, which was 1970 Maximum Muscle, which we did with Motor Books. So, I think Mark and I are kind of unique, is that we have books out simultaneously from both of the big North American automotive book publishers, Cartech for Hemi Under Glass and 1970 Maximum Muscle, which came out in April of this year with Motor Books. So that's kind of unique, I think. I think only Matt Stone has been able to pull that off, having books out at the same time from both major publishers.
Rich, have you always been a car guy?
Yeah, always have been. Yep.
And that's how the whole thing started for you, I assume.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, in high school, I didn't have a big muscle car. I had a 1965 Rambler American 440 car.
Sweet. Was it tubbed out?
Was it
No,
tough?
it was not tugged out.
Oh my gosh!
It got me to it got me to school in my senior year, and I've always been an AMC guy, and that's how Mark Fletcher and I connected. About 15 years ago, he invited me out to a show in the Phoenix area, and I went out. We had already corresponded a bit, and then I shot his 69 and a half Scrambler, which is in the Hearst Equip book.
Right.
Okay.
And done several magazine articles on it. And he, after having the car, I think for 15 years, recently sold the car to another friend of ours, and the car has gotten a substantial upgrade in terms. I think it's now got the dual quad manifold that was the factory option on the car, or the Group 19 parts option, dealer option. And that's probably, right now, is probably one of the 5 finest Scramblers, out of the 1515 that they built.
Wow.
Yeah, and I see that in the PR stuff that you guys sent us on the Hearst Equip, there's a picture of that car, and yeah, that was a classic car.
That was shot, God, I think at least 10 years ago. Had to be more than that because it was in the Hearst book, and we shot that at the Hotel Valley Ho in Scottsdale. And one of the things that I'm known for as an automotive photographer is that I try to shoot cars in period correct settings. So that hotel was built in the late 50s, so it would not have been uncommon for a 60s car to be parked in the courtyard like that. And we just had some spectacular light. Quite frankly, we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And if I recall,
Waiting for that 20 minutes of spectacular light.
That's exactly it, the golden light. And that, I've taken over 1 million photos in my career. That stands in the top 15 overall, I would say.
Wow.
So, Rich, we don't have a lot of time left, but I did want to touch on the 1970 Maximum Muscle. Tell me about that car.
Well, that book, I'll try to do this really quickly. I pitched to Motor Books, both of our publishers, to do a 69 and a half book. Unfortunately, I did that in 2018, and there wasn't the opportunity to do the 50th anniversary of that. So they were already doing Maximum Muscle, and the writer that they had doing it handed the book back to them right after I made the 69 and a half pitch, and the editor, Dennis Parnew, said, "Rich, can you pick this up?" And very, very tight time constraints. And that, again, we just didn't make our deadline on it to have it out as early as we wanted to take advantage of the 50th anniversary. So the 69 and a half materials serves as the prelude for all the 70 cars. And that part, we still could do an entire book on it, because as you guys probably know, because I'm looking at the screen there, we're all the same age. We all knew that those 69 and a half cars, there were 15 of them. And we really could do a book on them. And kind of that's in the back of my mind. But right now I'm working on a book called The Millennial's Guide to Car Collecting. And that book will tell these newly minted millionaires how to invest in classic cars or cars of their youth or interest. And they do not have an interest in muscle cars. They have an interest in tuner cars, high-end exotics from the era that they grew up in. So it's going to be a different book than I originally had envisioned.
So
yeah, but they'd all have to buy automatics because they don't know how to shift. I'm sorry.
I think we can give them credit for more than that. I think a good portion of them know how to drive a 4, 5, or 6 speed.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. Well, Richard, it's really great to talk to you, another car guy, and believe it or not, I mean, he is a car guy that writes books, and a great collection, and I must say that we're getting close to Christmas, and these would make great Christmas gifts for anybody that's a musclehead.
So do you have a website, your personal website?
I think the best thing to do is just go to my Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/Richard.Truesdell, and that's spelled TRUSDELL.3. So it's facebook.com/Richard.Truesdell.3. Thanks, guys, for giving me that plug.
Hey,
welcome.
well, it's more you're more than welcome, and we hope to talk to you again soon. Let's connect. If you're ever in the Houston area, be sure and give us a shout.
Well, I'll do that. I'll probably be coming through Houston next year, and I will follow through on my promise, and I'll get you connected with Bob Riggle.
Perfect.
Richard, thank you so much again, and best of luck on all those books. And you're right up our alley, that's for sure.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a great Saturday, great weekend. It sounds like the weather's really good in Houston.
It truly
You as
is,
well.
and you as well. Talk to you soon. That's Richard
Okay.
Truesdell, and he is the man about town when it comes to hot rod books from especially our era.
Well,
And,
I'm gonna share his Facebook page on ours. You should see the picture of this Jaguar he's sitting in front of. That he is truly a car guy.
Gearhead. Anyway, time now for the cruise-in calendar, and there are some cruise-ins going on.
Yep. Next weekend will be the Battle Rod 2021 Open Car Show and Truck Show at the J.B. Wells Park in Gonzales, Texas.
I know where that's at.
And then Sunday, the 21st, will be the historic downtown Richmond Car and Bike Show, downtown Richmond, Texas. And that's 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
What day is that?
Next Sunday, the
Okay.
21st.
Right.
And then Sunday, November 28th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. is Houston Cars and Cocktails at Little Woodrow's and Tomball. December 5th, Riding on Faith, Christmas Market and Toy Show and Toys for Tots. And that is at the Riding on Faith at the Cowboy Church. And then December 11th is Legacy Ford's Toys for Tots show. And then December 18th, I believe, is when Eric Allen and Deadpool that we had on a couple of weeks, he's doing his Toys for Tots show as well.
Thank you, sir. All right, time now for this hour's car review. It's the 2022 Chevy Tahoe. Now, I know that I had to peel out of here last Saturday, and you didn't get a chance to see it, Conrad.
Yeah, I did. I saw it when we walked in.
Well, I know, but you didn't get a real tour of it. And the reason I say that because Conrad actually drives a Tahoe.
Right.
And boy, I'll tell you what, it ain't nothing like this new one.
No.
Holy
gorgeous.
Toledo.
Yeah, it was good looking.
All right. It's all new from the ground up 2022 Chevy Tahoe. Available trim levels, LS, the LT, the RST, the Z71, the Premier, and the High Country. I had the Premier. This is, according to your government, a standard SUV. And in my book, it is a full-size body on frame. No, it's not as big as the Suburban, but it's still got 3 rows of seating, and you can actually sit in the 3rd row. How many passengers? Up to 8 with a second row bench. Exterior changes from last year. It was all new last year. Exterior features: sharp grille with those masked headlights, interesting air openings on either side of the grille. And you and I took a look at that last year and going, what the hell is that for? And all I can think of, we came up with brake cooling.
Brake cooling.
Yeah. Beautiful wheels. And I will say this. You know, the manufacturers have really stepped up the game when it comes to wheels. And they, even if the vehicle itself stays pretty much the same year after year, as they do, they change the wheels every year. And every year they always come up with at least 1 or 2. They go, dang, I would have bought that in the aftermarket.
Right.
But they beat them to it. Sharp rear end with classy chrome accent. Do you see the chrome accent right underneath the window there? Really adds a touch of class on that thing.
Kind of gives it a very upscale look to it.
It's so funny because just that little piece of chrome does just that. Quad exhaust on my Premier. Quad exhaust.
Right, quad tips.
Yes.
Made it look good from the back.
It did. What I liked about it, oh my gosh, the paint job on that truck.
What color was it?
Well, it was called Midnight Black, but it wasn't. It was the deepest, darkest blue with just a little bit of flake in it.
Pearl.
And the sun would have to hit it just right, because when you came back, I had a chance to see it on the way out, and it definitely looks black. But when the sun hit, it's just
you
right.
You can see the blue.
You can see
it is spectacular. Interior highlights: sleek, well laid out dash design, passive cell phone charger right in the middle up front, massive center console, obviously tons of storage there.
I like that.
Integrated touch screen, push-button transmission shifter on the dash. And it's not only it's a push-pull kind of situation on it. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but boy, does it work great. And what I like about it being on the dash is, so you got the dog in the car. The dog doesn't accidentally put it in neutral or some other gear that you don't want it to be in. It's up on the dash. Gobs of cargo room, especially with the third row down on it. What I liked about it, the ease of use of the infotainment system with Google voice control. And it works
did it understand
great.
you?
Yes. It recognized my voice and never failed. It was spot on. They should have done that a long time ago. So it comes standard with a 5.3-liter V8. We had the 6.2 optional V8 that had 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. The regular 5.3 has 355 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. 10-speed automatic transmission in all of them. Tow rating up to 8,400 pounds.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. The great big yacht you could
store 4 tons or tow 4 tons.
Yeah. Haul rating 1,834 pounds. Miles per gallon, 15 and 20. For an average of 17. Remember, it used to be 12. What I liked about it, more power for everything with this big motor in it. What could use improvement? Well, I just dreamed this up. How about a supercharger for more power? Why not?
Well, there's a supercharger in the works, because they use it in other car platforms.
Yep, they do. Ride and handling, superb. And what makes it superb is the new independent rear suspension on the thing. It has made a world of difference. And you couple that with the magnetic ride control shocks.
Right.
The thing is unbelievable. Anyway, base trim price, $64,795. Price is tested $76,670. Base model price is $49,700. Competitors, it's twin. GMC Yukon starts at $52,600. Ford Expedition $55,820, and the Grand Wagoneer starts at $87,590.
Do you really put the Grand Wagoneer in that category?
I had to come up with something, and I thought this is an opportunity to me to tell you how much that thing costs.
Amazing.
Beautiful truck, though.
I did.
It truly is. Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available from your favorite podcast source. In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this quick break.
Hey, Houston, it's back! America's greatest hot rod tradition is on Thanksgiving weekend. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Autorama at the George R. Brown Convention Center. 4 days of hot rods, customs, classics, trucks, and performance cars featuring the ultimate lowrider showcase. Sponsored by Shorty's Hydraulics and the Traditional Rod Garage. Saturday only, it's the Tuner Galleria with 250 imports, JDM, and luxury cars. Plus music and models. Autorama. It's so much more than a car show. On the celebrity stage, presented by Nick's Auto Repair and Classic Car Restoration, it's Chip Foose from TV's Overhauling on Friday and wrestling superstar Sting on Sunday. Shop the swap meet and women's world all weekend. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Autorama. November 25th to 28th at the George R. Brown Convention Center. Discount tickets at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Part of the Summer Racing Equipment Show Car Series. See Autorama.com.
Tailpipes and Tacos, Houston's premier monthly cruise-in, will return Saturday, December 18th to the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy. Tailpipes and Tacos wants to thank all of the participants and fans who've enjoyed the collector cars, hot rods, customs, originals, and resto mods, and everything in between. We'll be taking a break for Thanksgiving and Autorama, but we'll be back for a great Christmas cruise-in on December 18th, so make plans now. You know that Tailpipes and Tacos is the Houston area's coolest cruise-in, a place you'll see friends, family, and the finest cruise-in cars in the Houston area. It all happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Get your ride ready for a very special Christmas cruise-in, Lupi style. It's Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, December 18th. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Let's celebrate the Christmas season together at the next Tailpipes and Tacos on December 18th. We'll see you then, weather permitting.
Gulf Coast Auto Shield has moved to a more convenient location. Now you can visit John Gray and his staff of dedicated professionals at their new shop on the South Sam Houston Parkway between Belford and Airport in Southwest Houston. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is the best at paint correction and ceramic coatings. Clear bras and custom wraps are specialties that only Gulf Coast Auto Shield installs with award-winning accuracy, and all their services come with a warranty. Lamborghini, Aston Martin, Porsche, and Ferrari owners depend on Gulf Coast Auto Shield for their specialty services, and you should too. The In-Wheel Time Corvette and Cutlass have both been massaged by Gulf Coast Auto Shield, so isn't it time your vehicle visit their new shop in Southwest Houston? Call John Gray today at 832-930-5655 or visit online at gcautoshield.com. That's gcautoshield.com. Paint, coatings, wraps, and more at gcautoshield.com.